So I think thank you everyone for joining us. I see some hands up, Ru Liu. If you want to just type your questions, go ahead. So how we're going to do is all our board members are here today and we're going to answer any burning questions. So you may have checked some of their classes out before, or you may have checked them on LinkedIn and they may be really busy. They didn't answer your questions yet. So this is a really good time for us to get to know the board and instructors. At the same time, you may have some friends that wanted you to help them ask questions as well. So I think this is a really, really good time to really also let us get to know you through some of your questions, because we know that some of you actually submitted your applications. We've actually received inquiries to check whether your applications are in. We've also answered some of them. So we will get started now. And how we're going to do this is the session is going to break into 2 sessions. And we are going to have Jasmine moderating the first session. And then we'll have Robin to moderate the second session. So everyone here are part of the E-Fintech School. And you're going to hear how our story actually began. And, if you want to, it really depends on Jasmine and Robin. Do you want them to type the questions in, or do you want to stop you as we go? So we'll leave that to them for them to moderate the sessions. And I think over to you, Jasmine.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So good to see all of you guys here. Most welcome to my fellow panelists, Danny, Paul, and Jenna. So a quick summary about what we're going to talk about during the panel. We're going to talk a little bit about history, how the FinTech School came about, the crazy stuff we did behind the scene before it went out, and some of the things that went behind the scene, which the board will share. So I've been really blessed to be invited onto the initial and founding board of advisors. And it has been a great trip for me personally. And I'm going to ask my fellow board members what their experience has been. And of course, all of this, we want to also thank Jenna, because she's the genesis, shall we say, of this whole little initiative. And I'm going to pass the time now to my panelists, starting with Jenna, Danny, and then Paul, to tell us a little bit about themselves, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, Jenna?
Thanks, Jasmine. So I think a little bit about myself is I have not done fin or tech before. My background is I used to be a lawyer, but I'm really passionate about technology, and that's where I bump into all these lovely people here. We thought that we wanted to solve a crucial thing in the ecosystem, but let's get to that in the panel. Over to you, Danny.
Yeah, hi, I'm Danielian from GHL. I'm the group CEO. And again, like what Jasmine said, really honored to be on the board of this E-Fintech School. And thanks to Jenna for getting us together. And as you know, we have done the first cohort, and we are really looking forward to the second one.
Paul.
Well, welcome everyone for attending. Glad to have you with us, and hopefully we'll have all of your applications fairly soon. My name is Paul Ark. I am one of the advisors with the E-Fintech School. I am currently a venture capitalist with Gobi Partners, as well as Seed Stars. But my formal connection to FinTech came from my previous venture capital position, running the corporate VC fund for Siam Commercial Bank, where I did FinTech investments and deep tech investments around the world. And that's pretty much how the FinTech School found me and approached.
Yay. So a quick bit about myself. My name is Jasmine, and right now I'm in IP88, just joined up. Been involved in the fin side of things for more than 20 years, used to work in the bank, and so that's as financial as it gets. Toured the bank ecosystem, and then I jumped out and joined blockchain, which is as tech as it gets in terms of the tech environment. And that's how Jenna found me too. So next question I really wanted to find out from my fellow board members is, what was the motivation that prompted you to join, and in Jenna's case, to start the E-Fintech School?
Thanks, Jasmine. I think I was actually part of the government before this, driving digital economy for fintech. So we had to craft something nationwide, and even though we did the regulatory bit, we did the FDI bit, we did the startup bit and scale up, we noticed that the academics or the education or the upscaling part were not really covered in Asia Pacific. So I was wondering when, along the journey for this 4 or 5 years ago, people kept asking, how do I get into fintech? And it repeats every year. I'm sure all the board member will get this question every year. How do I get into fintech? It seems that the barrier is going higher and higher every year. And that's where we want to really solve this this issue or problem. And we're quite lucky to be in this space where it grows and we contribute how it grows. But I think we want to see the bigger picture and then move towards a longer term goal. So that's how we started actually.
Nice. Danny?
Basically, I mean, under GHL, myself, my personal experience more towards payments, right? But what motivated me to do this is basically, and because payment is the frontlining fintech industry, sub-industry, as in everybody familiar with e-wallets and stuff like that. So there are people just associate that fintech equals payments, right? And even though I'm from payment, I felt that wasn't right. I think we need to clarify that to the market. Fintech is broad, right? Fintech is supposed to bring, using technology, bring financial services to all, right? Whatever shape or form. Just payment is just one small part of it, if you ask me, right? So to me, the need to actually educate people, right? Even ourselves, to be frank, on the breadth of fintech, what are components of it, and in that, I think that it's the motivation for me to be involved, telling my story and also listening to my other colleagues of their areas, and to educate those that want to come into fintech or those who may not want to come into fintech but actually want to work with fintech or have a better understanding of it. And I wanted to really debunk the myth that fintech equals payment only.
Thank you. Paul, what do you think? What was
Yeah,
your
so actually, I'd left my job running a large fintech fund at the beginning of the year. So when Jenna had approached me shortly after that, I was trying really, really hard to put as much distance between myself and fintech, just because I'd done it for career path down. Is a couple of reasons. One, working in fintech for a number of years, I did manage to collect a diverse range of experiences and tidbits of wisdom that it would be almost a shame to not to let it go to waste, to not share it with others that can benefit from that. But more importantly, I think the objective of what Jenna had wanted to do was to create a community of other experienced professionals like myself that had insights to share, and expand that community to a lot of folks who wanted to break into the space and who could benefit from that range of knowledge. So, for me, that was a very compelling reason to at least keep, one toe dipped in the fintech waters.
one toe? Okay. We're hoping that you put in an entire leg or a bit more.
Oh, I have a lot of different pools that I'm swimming in, so I'm trying to balance things out.
So in terms of achievements, right, Jenna? What were the achievements that you wanted to see in the school? I mean, what were you gunning for? And I'll ask the board this as well as we go.
Yeah, so I think we didn't tell a little story. I think the idea also started in February this year. That's where we actually did an industry roundtable at that time to discuss about draft frameworks and regulations, where Jasmine, Charmayne, and Danny were there. So funny thing is, when we discuss about regulations about related to fintech and all these digital banks, we ended up speaking about talent more passionately, and no one
That's my
had the
fault.
so no one really had the answer because there was no concerted effort, because fintech is not based on, you know, like a specific region. It's based on tech, and it's based on needs or whatever the economy thinks that it should move along to open up a market, a new business model. So we were quite concerned, and in my perspective, even though I'm not from the finance background, but there's always things like the systemic risk. That's what regulation is always talking about. So would the lack of robust and sustainable pipeline of talent for fintech and industry ready ones, will that that was happening in my mind, will that actually pose a systemic risk in the long term? So, and then we were discussing about that, and we didn't really have an answer, but we were inspired by what Jasmine has actually shared, something in Union Bank Philippines actually did. They wanted to look for blockchain talents, they couldn't, and they decided to do their own program. And obviously they are one of the more innovative and forefront bank right now in Philippines. So we were quite inspired. If they can do it, why not us? And what best to rally all our friends and network who've actually done it. So what we were really proud is from February, we had the idea. In July, we actually finished the first cohort. We finished it. We didn't launch it, but we finished the whole cohort for 1 month. And that was really unexpected. And what was another unexpected thing was the board really wants to run it for the long term. So I thought maybe I'll just pitch in for, you know, the 6 months and that's it. We were quite fascinated by, number one, the type of participants that came in. We got 200 over applications within 1.5 months. We actually got 17 countries represented, 17, from both the participants and instructors. And what was really unexpected was the participants actually gave back. So as you all know, so this is a little bit about the E-Fintech School. So it is free when you successfully graduate, but you put in a deposit, which will reimburse after that when you graduate successfully, minus a transaction fee and exchange fee. And some of them actually paid forward. So we really like the community, and some of them actually became our ambassadors. So those are the things that are really unexpected within 8 months that we achieved. Yeah.
Danny? Thanks, Jenna.
For me, what I was expecting to achieve is basically, see, we all call ourselves being in fintech and all, but realistically, we all bump into it, right? There was no school that we went to, there was no book to per se when we started. We literally just bump around, and then suddenly we kind of, people call us fintech expert and all. I mean, let's face it, right? I mean, there's so if you look around, although I don't know some newer university or courses, nothing that is substantial that I know of that has a structured approach to fintech, right? Arguably because it's new, arguably because it's very broad, right? So how do you do that? How do you bring talent up to speed in a very quick way? Hence, I saw this as a very, you can call it quick and dirty way of getting things going, right? And honestly, my wish is actually some of our courses or some of our elements will get, bought in by some of the education institute, to actually start putting into their syllabus. May not be a fintech class or course or whatever, but elements of it, and I'll be more than happy to even speak in some of these. I'm sure all the instructor board member will be happy to do that, because these are the little parts that we can help to immediately address the need of everybody, and hopefully on the longer term we'll be able to slip in some of these ideas, some of this curriculum into the actual more structured education or centers that's a longer term achievement that I hope that we can do.
Wonderful. Paul?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what's been really fascinating about this journey, having since seen that first cohort, I mean, what the appeal of E-Fintech School is that because a lot of our participants come from the Asia Pacific region, and because so many of our instructors are practitioners in their field from Asia Pacific region, the knowledge that's imparted is very pragmatic. It's not theoretical textbook knowledge. This is working knowledge from people in the regions, active in the regions that most of our attendees live and work. So it is not just imparting theories and formulas. It's basically learning practical knowledge from people that the participants may very well wind up engaging with professionally, in person, at some networking event down the line, because we're all part of this regional community, and because it's not a purely fixed curriculum. I mean, for this second cohort, we've been spending time re-examining the topics, looking at bringing in new instructors. It's a constantly evolving program, and we're not talking about development cycles of years. I mean, as Jenna mentioned, we completed the first cohort just a couple of months ago, and we're not completely re-engineering things for the second cohort, but we're certainly spending a lot of time innovating, beyond just some minor tweaks. We're looking at wholesale changes to the program, in this constant quest to improve and innovate. So it's really interesting that given another cohort or two, we might see a program that's actually radically different from one that just came even just a year earlier. So and I think that's quite an incredible strength of the program.
I agree. And for me, when we first spoke about it to Jenna and at the event, I wanted nothing more than to enable more talent to get into the space, and enable more people to know the space. Because whenever you say you're from fintech, people look at you and it's like, oh, there's some magic happening there, and they don't have an understanding. And I thought that was such a waste, because that space is a growing space and we need talent. And talent would start with first a curiosity of mind to find out what it's about, and then learning is such an easy thing today because of the internet and what's already readily available. And then when Jenna came and told me that, okay, let's just look at getting industry experts into it, I said that would be so cool, because theory, formulas, principles, all those things you can Google, and you probably get a list of 100 when you Google it out. But real life experience insight was something that I thought would make a real difference to those who's attending the courses with us. And the best thing about this is that we're recording the sessions, and we're just going to develop better and better materials as we go along. And that's what and that's the achievement that I wanted to see. And we're moving along those lines, right? So I'm going to ask the next question. How did you think the last cohort go? I mean, that was our first, but how did you think it went, Jenna?
Well, I think there's obviously ups and downs. So I'm just going to be honest. I think it was definitely totally unexpected. Some of the sessions actually ran longer than expected, because it's not because where we wanted it to run longer, is that there's too many questions from participants. I think that's one. The second one was, I think fintech is such a massive area. Obviously, we couldn't cover everything under the sun within 1 month. And with the limited time that we have, I think one of the things that we wish that we had was more time for prep, obviously. But I think we were quite fascinated by and encouraged as well by the instructors actually who wanted to jump on board. I think that was also unexpected, because we thought that it would be really difficult to get instructors to come and prep, because it's taking their time away from their work or some of the things that they're focusing on. So it's really hard. It's not just about speaking. I think speaking on webinars, honestly, it's quite it's way easier compared to running a course, running a session, and you are putting the expectation for students and graduates to ask you questions. So if you are not prepared, we do run survey forms on all our instructors. We collect a lot of data from our instructors, and it's fascinating to see that people are very, very invested in this, because we've already placed that expectation that for you to be part of this, you have to be invested. It is 80% attendance requirement. It is 1 month. It is after working hours. It's not easy after working and then you come back to like another few more hours session. So I thought that it was a very first good run, a lot of unexpected good stuff, but obviously there are some hit and misses. Internet connection. Funny thing is people actually come to classes every day, even though that the classes are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So some of them actually messaged me on Friday to ask whether there are classes. So yeah, I think over to you, Jasmine.
Oh my, Friday and they want to come for class. No. The instructor's not that hardworking. We need our spiritual time with the whiskey. Danny, what do you think? What was it?
Let's put in context, right? I think we did great. Okay, to be very frank, right? Yes, there were overruns in sessions. They were not very. Some of them they were missing topics and stuff like this. But hell, we did all this during a lockdown period. I'm not met. Or just before I met you after the unlockdown. Jenna is still in Australia. I've not met her, but basically we did, and I've never met Paul face to face, but I seem to know Paul forever. So we put this all together through Zoom sessions, right? So and it's quite amazing. I don't know whether people have done a 1 month course by pulling things together, not only us, but with the instructors and the participants, all through work from home or virtual, right? So I think that is a big achievement, if you ask me. What I was happy about also is the number of participants that are coming from various countries. They're actually very, very keen on joining. And like what Jenna said, they're very committed, right? They're not, even though technically it's a free session, you get your money back, but they were not bothered too much with that, if you ask me. They were more bothered with attending the sessions, even though some of them, I believe some of them were calling in from their car when they were stuck in the jam and stuff like this. So that's the commitment, that it's not so much of, so that was very good. And the other part, for the instructors to come in from variety of industry and companies, and these are not small companies. These are some are own founders themselves, some are in very big corporations, and committing the time and doing the syllabus. Me myself did the syllabus, and it wasn't that easy, to be frank, right? But again, not only us in a board that was committed. I think looking at how the instructor came in, they were all very, very they understood what we wanted to do, hence they participated. And to me, we did not just get ourselves into this whole idea of E-Fintech School. I think we got all the instructors into this idea as well, right? And I think some of them also, for the second cohort, some of them are actually requesting whether they want to do another session or a subsequent session, deeper level, or repeating the same session. So I think we have not only convinced ourselves that it works, we have convinced others that it works.
Totally agreed. Paul?
Yeah, no, I think the thing that I found the most surprising, in a very pleasant way, was sort of the level of commitment and the level of engagement from participants. I think anyone that's taken sort of online classes through these platforms, I think will know that when things get busy, it's easy to sometimes let things slide. Maybe you sort of postpone a class. You might have put down a little bit of money and said, okay, well, no one wants to lose their money, but people who are super busy professionals might say, okay, $100, not great, but I got to let it slide because work is super, super heavy. But this is a group that that first cohort, the overwhelming majority of participants basically stuck it through 3 nights a week for several hours each night, plus a very long Saturday, and they did this for a month. And it didn't feel like it was something they did simply to get their deposit back, but it felt like they were deeply engaged with the topics. They were very interactive with the instructors, and because many of them were organized into groups for group assignments in their final end of cohort pitching session. There was a lot of engagement amongst the participants themselves. So it would have been completely unsurprising to me if, say half the cohort wind up just sort of dropping out. And I think we actually raised the number of participants initially from 50 to 100 for that first cohort because we expected such a big drop off. And I think by the end, it was nearly full engagement by the full 100. So, I think that's a testament to the types of instructors we get, the content they're putting together. And then I think the format, doing these classes by Zoom is never an ideal format. Doing something online is never going to be as interactive as working with people in person. But to have that level of engagement over an online format amongst people that, frankly, many people never met before face to face was quite an impressive feat.
Totally agree. And for me, apart from the participants, I also have to take my hats off to those who came in to come alongside with us to teach and was willing to impart in their insights and experiences. And everybody was so generous with their experience, with what they've learned over their journey in the fintech environment, whichever area it was, whether it was wealth, insurance, and payment and all that. And it was really awesome and amazing. I gave them personal assignments. They all came back and I read them and they had such fantastic ideas, and it was really encouraging to have these participants. I totally agree. They were awesome. Share one thing that really surprised you during the previous cohort or in setting up the school, like, behind the scenes kind of stuff. Just share. And Jenna, you've got so many stuff, right?
I think one thing is because I'm managing the whole Zoom thing, so I actually have to attend every session. And that's crazy because it's like attending 100% attendance. I think that's one. Second one was it's trying to understand in the participant's shoe as a working professional, or even if you're a student, trying to understand how do we get them engaged. So we actually have something called Slack platform. So Slack platform is where we actually constantly ask everyone, remind everyone, tag everyone on assignments, discussions. And I think the reminders were the interesting thing. We reminded them on Slack, and then there's a calendar going out, and then there's emails as well. And then there's a Google sheet and all that. So I think it really brings back memory that we are like doing an exam. So it was really crazy at the point where everyone's very scared that if they miss out one class, because they don't want to miss out. They really like the live session. I think that's what's really different. And as to what Paul mentioned, and Danny, I think running Zoom classes, it's very different. I think all of us here, we've never actually encountered this Zoom classes session like this. All of us, I think, went to a university or, in-person classes when we're growing up. So I think it needed another level of engagement, and that's where we are also focusing on for the next cohort.
Cool. Yeah. So you were the equivalent of the nagging mother, virtual and online nagging.
Yeah, with to keep track of everything and answer. I think it's also attending their concerns and questions, because then everyone have their different perspective, or it's like, what if I'm sick, what if I got work meeting, so it's all that all in. Yeah.
Danny?
To me, it's again the commitment of the instructors as well as the participants, the students, right? Because bear in mind, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jenna, most of them, if not all of them, are actually working people, right? So how do the students manage it? I mean, for us, instructor is basically one session you're done. If you have time, then you become a student in your colleagues session, but non-committal, right? But how do the participants or students manage it on top of their work, right? And the commitment for them to and then I think we got very, very good attendance. Commitment for them to actually come in to do this. I'm very, very impressed, right? Having said that, I think that helped with the Zoom sessions. If you had done physical sessions and people had to rush Tuesday to Thursday, 7 to 9 to a physical location, if maybe the jam and all those things, it probably would be harder, right? I mean, so sometimes whether you like the not so interactive world of video conference and all that, but I think without that, it'd be harder for the participants. They have to rush through the traffic, blah, 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 and all those things, right? So that helped, right? But bottom line is their commitment. It's just amazing commitment. And for them to be very interactive in the Slack platform, and we hardly have any problems with any of the students, except for one or two cases here and there. But by and large, actually, everybody is actually very participative. And how they can actually get together to do the pitch and all those things is quite amazing. And I think probably most of them probably haven't met each other face to face, right? So, and it brings work from home, brings video conference or collaborative platforms to another level, if you ask me.
Wonderful. And very true. Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I might have answered the most surprising thing from my last answer, so I might have been a little bit premature from the last one. But what I will add a little bit to that is that I think what's quite remarkable was the level of diversity amongst the attendees. In terms of the types of professions that people had done, anywhere from working in corporates, some of them actual financial services companies, folks from, I think might have been a few folks in government service jobs. There were a number of start folk, there were some investors. I think there might have been even a few students as well. So, you run the gamut of, age, background, geo, and, all sort of learning an incredible diversity of topics as well. I think the instructors were probably just as diverse as the students. So, and the fact that a lot of folks were able to connect in a community, although online for now, but hopefully at some point in the future, we have a big enough pool of alums who have the opportunity to interact with each other face to face within the region. So, I think that's really, again, another really great strength of the program.
I mean, one of the surprising things for me for the program is how much fun I had, like planning with the three of you guys before the launch of the cohort and seeing people with makeup and without makeup. That was good. And the fun that we had, and then the results that we got while planning and then seeing it launch was one of the most awesome things for me. And the surprise that we could plan this whole thing through Zoom, as what Danny was saying, and have the entire interaction with the whole cohort through Zoom, Slack, and so on and so forth, and had so much fun doing it. And I think, to me, that was the most surprising thing. Okay, so my last question and closing thoughts, because we're going to open up for Q&A. So any of you guys out there have questions, please feel free to ask us. And tell me, what do you hope for the future of the school? And share something personal with regards to your experiences with the school. I mean, some have shared, just closing thoughts, but really want to hear, what are your future expectations for the school? Jenna.
Well, I think we've had this discussion quite a bit. We hope to inspire different type of schools, whether you want to call it school, academy. We see that there will be a different type For example, it could be what Danny is passionate about, payment school. Paul could be teaching a VC academy, or an investment academy. And it could be also geared towards country specific. So for example, in Indonesia, peer-to-peer, it's something necessary for economy, and it's been really robust and all that. So we want to inspire that it's possible, and we are moving quite fast with innovation technology. So I think it really is, it's really exciting to actually see how edtech will, or education, or the way that we study and learn will transform. And at the same time, the reason why we're all here is because it's also quite fun, right? To actually make that impact, getting to know other people who are actually in the safe wavelength. I think that's really key. One thing that we're looking out for is to create this community. And I think a lot of people use this very loosely, but I think we want to actually make this long term. This is not a short term. And I think a lot of questions has been asking us whether will there be another one. Every time we open a cohort, they'll be asking us for the next cohort. So I think we are looking out to see what kind of collaborations that we want to do, what kind of modules, and how this will pan out in the future. It's not just fintech, it could be any other things. As you know, first week is fintech, second week techfin, third week is technology, last week is everything else under the sun. So we will be looking forward to see all your participation, and every one of you will be quite interested to see how each cohort will be very different. Thanks, Jasmine.
Thanks. Danny.
Like what Jenna and I think the founding, four of us being the founding board members, right? We've spoken about this from day one. How to make it sustainable, right? You have first cohort very good, second one good, but how to because we have our work and our family and all to handle as well, right? So, but how to make it sustainable, because this is not it's almost like a non-profit, and try to and pulling people together through video conference, right? So how do we make it sustainable, and or is it just going to be a 3-4 cohort, and then after that things whittle down, right? I think that is what I'm expecting to see, if we can find some middle ground there. I do not see all of us running this perpetually, to be very, very frank, right? So we really need to, after the second or third call, we really need to see how to make it sustainable, whether certain attachment to certain institution, to so-called get the experts to manage it for a foreseeable future, while we stay behind to bring in instructors and also be instructor to supplement it. I think that's a bit more sustainable, right? I think that's an important component of it. And the other part we did talk about is the content, right? The video content that we have. How can we, for most of the instructors, I believe that we have actually got permission to reuse the videos as and when they want it. And I think that is, if anything, that would be the legacy that we leave behind. But where do you put it? How do you channel out to people? How do you make it more sustainable? Who do you share? I think we need to really figure that part out. I think by the third cohort, we're going to have a lot of content. So how do you best use it, and then how to put things together and make it sustainable?
Agreed. Paul.
Yeah, it's I think to build off of what Danny had said, I will say that what the future of E-Fintech School looks like is yet to be determined, but it's important for the attendees to understand why the school was launched, and even to address one of the earlier questions about to verify that this is a free program, because this is not, E-Fintech School was not put together as a business enterprise. It was a project that was put together because there was a recognized need for fintech talent in this region, where demand for talent is exploding, and understanding of fintech was still behind the curve. So I think this was largely a labor of love of a number of people who also recognized a need for more a group of people who are suddenly who are given a bit of a crash course knowledge, a base core of knowledge of fintech, a broad survey of knowledge. And again, we're none of the advisors or instructors are paid for this. This is all done out of our time. Whatever costs may be involved, we do have corporate sponsorship and assistance. So that actually takes care of a lot of the cost of doing it. And then really our mission here is just to get as many people who are interested up to speed. The idea of a deposit, no one's going to make a ton of money off of deposits. And the intention was to not monetize. It was simply just a mechanism to ensure that, we wanted to keep the cohort sizes manageable. And we wanted to ensure that anyone who managed to get a spot in the cohort did not drop out and deprive someone else who might have been keen to participate to not get that spot. So it was really more of an enforcement mechanism. But again, with more than half a dozen board advisors, no one here is going to make we're not going to get rich on $100 deposits. That's really just to defray costs. So, again, I think the mission is fantastic, and we hope that the attendees here are interested enough to sort of join that initiative and take part in our second cohort.
Yes. Thank you. And I echo all of that. And one of the things that I really want to see for the future of the E-Fintech School is a community of fintech practitioners, believers, and proponents. And that's what I was sharing with Jenna in terms of creating a community that will then support each other, come together, leverage off each other, be there for one another in a bigger context of fintech. And there's so much things that the fintech environment, whether it's techfin, fintech, or just as technological financial services entrepreneurs, we need the support of community. And there's so many new things that we are doing that the path is not traveled. And you don't want to be alone. When you're breaking new things, you like to know that there is a group of people behind you while you're chopping down the trees and creating new paths for others to follow. You do know that no matter what happens, if you falter, somebody else is there to help pick you up and carry on with you on the mission that you have. And I thought that was important. And that's what I really, really hope to see for the FinTech School. And I believe we are already doing it with the ambassador program. I'm so excited to hear some of the ambassadors. They're so passionate about talking about the FinTech School, how to get their friends to sign up. And I think that's a testimony and how they want to contribute back as ambassadors. And like you said, Paul, we don't get paid for this. It's all our time. And they are passionate about wanting to share their time and the experiences that they have to help bring others along the journey. And I thought that was great. All right. Thank you so much. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to look at the questions, and then I can see some of our ambassadors already jumping in to answer some of these questions themselves. Fantastic. So Valerie had a question. What are the expectations for this program, and what are some of the common pitfalls from previous cohorts that you could share to learn from? I think we shared quite a bit of that, but if any one of my panelists want to add on, please feel free. This would be a good time.
I'll just get started. So I think the expectation is really to understand how far your commitment is. So, sometimes work can be quite challenging. So it's actually good to make friends so that they can get you up to speed. I think that's number one. Second one is, I think there's also, so for us, the board and instructors and organizers, we don't have any expectation that you have a lot of knowledge in fintech. You can come in not knowing anything about fintech, and there is no requirement that you need to have certain academic qualification or working professional. So I think we're getting quite a lot of repetitive questions on that. And yeah, I just want to reassure everyone, there is no requirement what you need to study, what kind of university qualifications that you need to have, how many years of fintech experience, finance and banking. There is nothing. You do not need to know about coding. You do not need to know about tech. You do not need to know about finance. So I hope that breaks the myth. And common pitfalls is, I think people think that this is going to be an easy breeze. If you speak to the previous cohort, I think commitment is one thing that if you commit to it, you actually get much more value for yourself, whether it's network, whether it's content, whether it's practical insights, or maybe a job, because some of these instructors are actually really working in either fintech related fields, finance and banking, tech, regtech, or their own startup companies, corporates. So I hope that clarifies some of your burning questions. Back to you, Jasmine.
Thank you. So I think I've run over time already on this particular panel, and I don't see that many more questions that we have not answered. I think we've answered most of them. As for those who want to know a little bit more, there is the link that we've posted up, that Jenna's posted up, and apply, and we're opening up the application from 1st November. Again, we are limiting the number because we really want interaction amongst the cohort. Please do know that we are looking more to build a community as opposed to just having major traction. So we want people who are passionate about the topic, who want to really learn about it and discover their own journey in fintech, if that is what they are looking at. And so please do subscribe and start signing up before places run out. In the meantime, I am going to sign off for this panel. Thank you so much to my panelists, Paul, Danny, Jenna. I'm going to pass the time back to Jenna. Okay, sorry, there's one, the whole cohort learns together or in smaller sizes. The whole cohort learns together, but when assignments come, pictures and all that, they may be broken down into smaller groups depending on the instructor and the assignment. But for the cohort, the graduating assignment will be broken down into teams, small teams. May I know if the topics will focus on fintech in Southeast Asia or about fintech in general? Okay, Jenna, do you want to take that, or Paul or Danny?
I think maybe Paul or Danny can take it.
I mean, generally, it all down to where the instructors are from, to be frank, right? We generally have instructors around Southeast Asia, so it's a bit more Southeast Asia oriented, but some of the instructors would have global experience, and they'll just slip in or whatever experience they will have. So, but if you ask me, it's more Southeast Asia, but with some global feel to it.
Great. Thank you, Danny. So that covers our session. Guys, sign up. It's fun, it's educational, and we hope to include you into a very fun community of fintech practitioners very soon. Thank you. Over to you, Jenna.
Thank you, Jasmine. So thanks. This is wrapping up just the first session. We're going to Robin's session. So Robin, take the stage actually.
Thank you, Jenna. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good afternoon and welcome. And thank you all for attending. It is a pleasure to virtually meet you all. My name is Robin Lee, and my background comprises of Silicon Valley, Wall Street, compliance, startups, and teaching. And I actually head up the RegTech module on the E-Fintech School program. Today, I have two roles. I'm the Global FinTech Liaison for a US government entity, and simultaneously, I'm the VP of APAC for Napier, which is a UK headquartered RegTech that's developed an anti-money laundering platform with functionalities such as screening and transaction monitoring. So for those of you who aren't aware of what that is, sign up for the class and you can learn more from me. I'm just kidding. Okay, today we're going to be talking about the learning experience. And I have three awesome panelists here with me, Carol, Charmayne, and Kelvin. So can I ask everyone, including my fellow panelists here, to come off mute and give these guys a round of applause, please? Okay. Thank you to the two people that clapped there. Just a bit of housekeeping here. If you have any questions, please do post them in the Q&A section. It would be greatly appreciated. And what I'll do is I'll randomly look at it, address it if it's relevant for the time. If not, we'll answer it all at the end during the Q&A session. But please post your questions there like you have been. So what I want to do is I want to start off by asking each panel member to briefly introduce themselves, because I think it'll be good for the audience to also hear like why you are here. So maybe ladies first. Let's start off with Carol.
Thanks, Robin. Hi, everybody. My name is Carol. I am a proud mom of 3 young children and a very old dog. And I sustain their living by working at LinkedIn. Okay, so I'm a digital learning and employee engagement specialist, specifically looking at government agencies and higher education institutes all around Asia-Pac. But prior to joining LinkedIn, I spent 13 wonderful years in fintech with a very key focus on data, building emerging market communities, and I'm really passionate about talent. And so I think that's the one thread that continues throughout my journey so far and will likely continue even beyond. Over to you, Charmayne.
Thanks, Carol. Thanks, Robin. Hi, everyone. Very good afternoon. So I am Charmayne. I'm currently heading the Strategic Digital Alliances team in Maybank. Bit of a background before I kind of stumbled into fintech actually, because my background was mainly in telcos and also in tech. So in short, how I got into fintech was that I actually launched Samsung Pay in Malaysia, and basically the doors just sort of opened up for me. And yeah, if you guys have any more questions, you can actually feel free to ask me later. And over to Kelvin.
Mr. Kelvin.
Yep, and that's how I met Charmayne, because I launched Samsung Pay for Standard Chartered in Malaysia, while in Singapore. So hi everyone, I'm Kelvin. I am a venture lead for Standard Chartered Bank today. I run initiative for Nexus, which really is building the banking as a service platform for Standard Chartered Bank across the world. I run between retail banking, corporate banking, FMT analytics, and consumer finance. So my exposure to fintech in general is via interacting with them and working them into the stack that we're building today for BAS. Why I'm doing this? Because I only do things for one reason and one reason alone. Whether it's for career or personal growth, it's really about having fun. So I'm doing this because I think it might be fun.
Thank you, Kelvin. And just in case you guys didn't realize, we've got robot skills here at E-Fintech School as well. So sorry, Kelvin, you're breaking up for a little bit there, but it sounded cool. So don't worry. I think the audience caught what you're trying to convey there. Okay, Charmayne, hey, tell us more about why you decided to become a tutor and the experience that you've gained from it.
Okay, first of all, I do not have robot skills, unlike Kelvin. Yeah, okay. So how I became a tutor, that's actually very interesting. Jenna reached out to me one day before the first cohort, and she's like, hey, with your experience of, maybe launching like the first major e-wallet in Malaysia, would you like to come in and share? And basically, to teach like-minded people who wants to know more. So initially, I sort of like hesitated, but maybe for about like 10 seconds, because I'm not really a tutor, to be honest. And yeah, I don't think like, I don't think that would be my next job really. But having said that, I do have a passion, especially with knowledge sharing. And also, I really believe that, the fintech community is something that, I want to contribute back to, because I think I mentioned a little bit like how I sort of, stumbled into fintech. And yeah, so that's one of the reasons why, I want to give back to the community, and therefore I decided to be a part of this. My experience with the journey as an instructor, it was kind of nerve-wracking. So because as I mentioned, I'm not really a lecturer, but I'm really glad and happy that, I was given the opportunity to do so. And I think I met a lot of great people and also, well, students along the way as well. I think some of them are really, really great and they're so dedicated that, I really, I really have to give them like a round of applause because, the commitment that they give in, it's really, really commendable. So, and would I do it again? Oh, yeah, of course. And, now I'm also like, being invited to be part of the board thanks to everyone here. Yeah, so I think generally it's been a really, really great journey so far. Yeah, and I'm really happy to
I
be
just
part.
want to add to that, Charmayne, that I'm a really, really big fan of the practical side and the actual experience side, and the fact that you got that and you were able to do, as you mentioned earlier, like take Samsung Pay from nothing and to blow it up in Malaysia, I think is tremendous.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so let's move on to the next question. I mean, so yeah, and that's a nice run on to my next question here, which is like I really like the balance of theory versus practical that E-Fintech School brings to the table, that we're sharing experience as well as teaching the theoretical stuff. Kelvin, you've actually built products from the ground up. So this is an amazing example, an amazing guy to come in and teach this from the work he's done recently at Standard Chartered in particular. Would love for you to share your thoughts on this.
Yep. No, so it's very interesting, right? I mean, most people understand fintech conceptually. Well, I jest. Most people don't, but people who do understand fintech conceptually at some level. But what's really interesting is not just what does a payment interface do, what does a system integrator do. It's about, okay, you want to build a digital bank or you want to build a digital payments capability. What are the working parts that you actually need? Right? What constitutes a core banking system? What constitutes the APIs that you need to build? What's the data infrastructure going to look like? Most people, when they think about digital banks or digital payment systems, don't think about the end-to-end. So for me, I actually feel like this is a great experience or a great opportunity to help more people start thinking end-to-end about how to implement something rather than conceptually saying, yeah, it's cool and funky. Afterpay is fantastic because it's buy now, pay later. But building a revolving credit capability to run buy now, pay later is much harder than most people think.
And it kind of reminds me as well. I mean, the biggest, I started my career out as a coder, right, as a developer, and when you're and this is back in the day when for the young people out there, back in the day you used to have to write line to product, right? It was a really, really tough gig, and we barely had compilers back then, so you leave out like the period or a space in your code, and this could be like pages and pages of code. The whole thing crashes, and you have to go in and find the bug and debug the whole thing. Very, very frustrating process. And I would imagine, Kelvin, that putting a product like a digital bank together, which is essentially the kind of stuff that you're doing, is equally has its challenges and frustrations as well. And guys have to be fully aware of that. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. On top of the challenges you talk about, which are obviously significantly ameliorated now with the tools that are at our disposal, the other things that have come up are new cybersecurity requirements. In the new world, cybersecurity is going to be a fun conversation to be had, regardless of whether or not you're a bank or you are a fintech of any sort. So the secure code by design, DevSecOps, it is massive amount of work that we need to think about that generally when people think fintech, people don't actually deep dive into.
Right, because when it comes to I'd like to just harp on that cybersecurity angle for a while, because I don't think people realize, right, when you're entering the financial industry through fintech, you're not building apps that tell you how many times a day you pick your nose, right? If this thing goes wrong, the repercussions can be really, really significant, right?
Yep, absolutely. Not so heavy on the fintech if you're a wallet player or if you have some kind of payments capability. But if the closer you move towards being a digital bank, which is, in all honesty, an amalgamation of all fintechs in the world come at some point to a digital banking capability, then the heavier the responsibility becomes, and the more onerous the requirements are.
So guys and girls, I mean, you want to learn stuff to this kind of a magnitude, and it's really, really important if you want to enter the fintech space, and come along from the course and hang out with Kelvin here, and he'll be able to share a lot of that with you. Okay, let's switch it up.
Robin, given that he's right there.
yeah. If you want to learn how to stay out of jail, come to me. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, let's that was a RegTech angle, by the way, guys. RegTech, yeah, the staying out of jail part joke. Okay, now let's move on to Carol here. Carol, LinkedIn Learning is huge right now. It can almost be described as the Spotify of courses. Would love to learn more about your experiences like working there, because you're in learning, you know, it's front and center in terms of what you do, and LinkedIn's overall approach to that.
Absolutely. And by the way, Robin, nice robot skills you picked up from Kelvin just now for a second there. And so, yeah, how's LinkedIn Learning been? Quite frankly, incredibly busy, as anybody in the digital learning space probably is right now. Yesterday, I think I only took 1,000 steps, which was terrifying and like really bad for me. So I have to make up for it this weekend. But all honesty, even without pandemic, without, you know, lockdown, being at home, I think that the biggest trend that we're seeing is just-in-time learning. You know, traditional learning specialists will know the 10, 20, 70, right? You learn 10% in the classroom, 20% socially, and 70% on the job. And I think what we're trying to see is that how can we leverage technology to really converge, right? Make sure that when you have a classroom engagement, you are able to extend that socially, right? 10 to 20. Build a community, right? And then leverage perhaps micro-learning to then learn on demand, right? Let's face it, we take very, very long courses that are very important, whether they're related to coding or perhaps being a leader. And we sit there and we take lots of notes, but when you get put back into the real world, and you have to apply it, you may not be able to afford to go through your notes, right? Sometimes you just need that 2-minute reminder, right? Via a micro-learning tool, or you just need to connect with Danny, right? Or connect with Jasmine, you know, a friend that you know very well, to get that quick recap so that you can learn and then apply. And so that's the biggest advantage, I think, that we're going to see in a format like this, whereby you truly have a blended experience that's going to be very practical and, more importantly, more fun. You know, nobody likes learning in a vacuum. Nobody likes to, you know, drink from a fire hose of information, right? Like you need to contextualize. You only have limited amounts of time. Learning should be fun. It should be something that you're passionate about and that you can connect with and actually apply in your daily life.
And we've spoken about LinkedIn Learning offline. In fact, I've signed up for it. It's great. But one thing that really, one thing that really excites me and really, you know, what I love about it is the fact that you're getting people with credibility, right? Your instructors actually have been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, got the boxer shorts, right? So I would love for you to share the whole process in how you bring your professors on board, because something that we've been trying to emulate here at e-learning school as well. So please.
Sure, happy to share. Honestly, learning is all about community building, right? And you want to share what's good. And so honestly, as some of you may know, LinkedIn wasn't always in the learning space, right? We were the place where you put jobs up for a while. And then with the jobs came the data, right? Lots of people who create profiles have information on their skills, their experience. Lots of jobs will have things like qualifications that have to be met. And so over time, we quickly realized that it was much more than a job board, right? LinkedIn is basically the digital representation of the world's economy, right? Every day you see movements both on the supply and demand side. And with that came the mission of how can LinkedIn empower economic opportunity for everyone, right? That's really the mission of LinkedIn, in case you didn't know. You know, it's provide global economic opportunity for every member, all right? Whether you're, you know, in the arts, whether you're in finance, whether, you know, you're a stay-at-home mom, right? We want economic opportunity to be brought at your doors. And so learning is a key component of that. And so what happened was that a couple years back, LinkedIn came to the inflection point of figuring out, well, we don't have a learning system today. Who should we buy, right? And so we looked out in the market. There's lots of players, as you'll probably be familiar with. And the #1 focus was quality, which is why they bought over lynda.com. All right. And Lynda has a very old name in history and reputation for getting quality instructors, as Robin has stated. And so the process of vetting really is, I would say, around 3 simple aspects. Okay. #1, you look at what's going on in the world. Okay. We've got 700 million members, lots of data points, lots of jobs, lots of people. What from here are emerging skills? What are in-demand skills, right? i.e., there's lots of jobs, but low demand of people, aka fintech, right? And then identify that as how we can build more content to basically build that capability, right, for people to learn. Okay. The second piece has to do with the instructor community. So Lynda came with a very renowned global community of instructors that then melded very well with the LinkedIn community, right? Because every instructor will have a LinkedIn profile. You know, beyond the vetting, there's an ongoing vetting that you would have with any social media platform. I can click on the profile, see if they're still relevant or not in this industry and if they're up to game, right? And #3 would be just the tech specs, okay? We're all experiencing Zoom now. You know, there's been plenty of funny memes about robot sounds and things like that. And in learning, you just don't want to be distracted by that, which is why, you know, LinkedIn really put a lot of investment in studios, you know, production teams to make it as Netflix-like as possible. You know, you want to enjoy learning, you know, you don't want to have all the funny breaks. And so that's the perspective of, I would say, quality instruction that LinkedIn has brought to the table. And I think we're not the only ones doing this, by the way, you know, so for anybody else in the digital learning space, I think that is the trend to go, to make sure that you just make that learning experience as engaging as possible, because learning is different from training, right? You know, when you go to school, you get trained and you have to, or even if you're in a bank right now, you know, you probably have mandatory training that you hate doing, right? Or any field really. And we want to flip that and say, well, you know, how can you be self-directed? How can you be passionate about it, right? And how can you apply that going forward in a way that helps you grow? Because we're all learning in informal or formal ways. It's about how do you really harness that into something that's purposeful and will also fulfill a market demand, right? So I think it's a little bit of that. Sorry, that's a long-winded answer, but hopefully
that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people used to think about LinkedIn the way I used to think about it, as just a really cool place to post your work stuff, right? But
Yeah.
clearly you guys do 50 times more than that, and that's great to hear as well. Okay, so the next question is for the panel as a whole. And I'm going to start off with the statement: Google plus Wikipedia does not equal experience. So my fellow panelists would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Do you agree, disagree, and if so, why? So maybe we'll start off with Kelvin this time.
I would agree with the statement in general. While I have to own up to doing quite a bit of Googling and using Wikipedia to appear knowledgeable at times very early on. So it's not a replacement for experience, but it certainly helps you fake it till you make it. So yeah, absolutely. We'll agree with the statement. The amount of work, the amount of requirements, the things that you need to surmount in order to lead an initiative across I'm building a fintech solution, building a fintech venture of any sort. HBR documents don't even touch scratch the surface of what is required to build from scratch and lead a team, much less what is required to actually lead people who are far more proficient than you in specific verticals and expertise. So yes, agree.
Thank you. Charmayne?
Yep, I think I'm gonna have to agree with Kelvin on that. And also agree on the statement. I mean, yes, you know, I think a lot of us here actually do rely on Google a lot. And I guess for me, I think previously, you know, I did love that because, you know, I really have no history whatsoever in the payment industry. So for me, it was a lot of, you know, learning on the go experience. And I think at the same time, I was really lucky because that's when I met both Jasmine and Kelvin. So they also sort of like help educate me a lot of things from a banking perspective. Because seriously, I mean, back then I was like, what is merchant acquiring? I don't know. And obviously back then I didn't know Danny, so you know, he didn't teach me anything about that. But given, I mean, I was thinking, you know, if back then, if there was a you know, a fintech school like this right now, I think it would actually definitely help me a lot in terms of, you know, understanding how the whole, you know, e-wallet or payment industry work. And also it's, I guess what's important is also, you know, who you network with and also how they can actually share their actual experiences with you. So which is why I think, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I do want to give back to the community and share whatever experiences that I've learned from the good people that I've learned from as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Charmayne.
Yeah.
Carol, take it away.
I'm going to pick a fight. I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
Because relevance, one word, relevance, right? Google, Wikipedia, by the way, I use that a lot too. Okay, so no downside on that. There's just too much information. I take it back to drinking from a fire hose, right? And at the end of the day, it's exactly what Charmayne ended with. That transforms the experience, right? It's our connections, it's our social interactions that then bring relevance and help us to navigate the vast pool and dark waters of Google and Wikipedia to actually find something useful. You know, we're no longer in this age where the problem statement is, I don't have enough to learn. It's the opposite, right? It's the opposite. We're inundated with information and free courses. I'm sure all of you have access to lots of free courses and lots of free information. The problem is, how do I learn the right thing at the right time so that I can get a job, get promoted, you know, be useful in this world, feed my dog, right? And so to learn the right thing at the right time, you need something relevant. And the only way to get that is through community, is through social connection, is exactly what Charmayne ended on. And so I'm disagreeing, but agreeing. Okay, don't hate me.
No hate here, but the fact that you say you wanted to start a fight really excites me. So if there are any takers from my panel here who want to fight back, I would love to play referee this time round and see if anyone wants to address Carol's point there.
You've had a hard week, Robin, right? You need some aggression.
Yeah, I need some entertainment here, man. That's kidding. No takers. Okay. All right. We'll go easy on the fight thing this time around. Okay, let's move on, guys. There are a lot of well, maybe not for this next question. Maybe not fight internally, but externally. So there are a lot of providers out there offering courses on fintech right now. Why us? Okay, let's start off with Charmayne this time.
Why us? Why not? Hello, have you seen, like, you know, the board of directors that we have here? And the list of instructors. And honestly, if you've not seen it, please go and check out you know, Fort Ninja's website and also Facebook page or whatever. I mean, you know, you see the list of instructors that was actually being featured in the first cohort. And I guess, you know, we may not be, well, you know, Google's, but we may definitely be some kind of Wikipedia that you can actually learn from. So yeah, I mean, you know, you have a board of, like, you know, really, I would say, like, you know, industry experts here. So I think, you know, obviously that's the reason why us. Yeah.
Okay. Pretty good sales pitch there. How about yourself, Carol?
I'm going to say why us. It's for the community and for the passion. Okay, like, you all can read a book on fintech and all day long, or find a movie, but that's going to be irrelevant in 1 month's time. You know, fintech is living, it's breathing, it's alive. This group of people are working in it and in the thick of it, and then dedicating time outside of their already busy days to connect with you because they're passionate. And so I'm a big believer in learning through networking, and that's exactly what this is all about. It's not just about the night classes that you'll take. It's about the connections you're going to make with experts in the field. It's going to be the connections that you make with each other, because you're all going to graduate from this program and do wonderful things. And one day I'll be going to you asking for a job, I'm sure, you know. And so, yeah, do it for the passion, for the fun. Okay, like, not for the credential on your LinkedIn profile. Like, it's a lot more than that.
coming from the lady who works at LinkedIn. I love it, man. And the conviction as well. Perfect, perfect. Kelvin, let him, why us?
Well, if you look at the compilation of not just the board members, but the instructors that we are bringing on board, there's a massive network here of both people who've done it in the open market in fintech, and people who've done it in banks, people who've done it in telcos, people who are running across multiple subject matter, AI, banking infrastructure, payments, and so on and so forth. Pretty comprehensive. And the network here between us, Mimi, you, Paul, Jasmine, essentially spans Singapore, Malaysia, most of Southeast Asia. If you want to go global, I'm sure we'll be able to do so as well, bringing in people from all around the world to help us with this. It's a whole bunch of people who are doing this out of the volition, or out of their own free will, essentially, and using our own personal network. So yeah, that's why us.
Fantastic. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we don't have any questions here, but we are coming up to the Q&A part. So if you do have your questions about the program, about the learning experience, experiential learning versus theoretical learning, please do throw them into the chat room right now.
Robin, I think there are certain questions on being full-time and, thinking that's too much workload. Maybe you want to go into that. Like, how am I a full-time student or full-time working professional? And how do I juggle with E-Fintech School? So I think that's quite a lot of concern on that.
Wait, I don't see that question. Where
it's by Tamir Salim. I answered that, but maybe you want to go in deeper on that. Yeah.
Okay. Tamir Salim, to answer your question here, we had a few full-time students and working professionals. We have less homeworks and no exams, more on graduation pitch day. It is more on the practical insights rather than theory. And so what we suggest is just apply and see what happens. And I read that completely from Jenna's response, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we got a couple of questions, Robin.
Okay, they're coming through. Okay, what's the graduation pitch about? All right. Do I have any takers for that? And I want to extend this to the original, to the previous panelists as well. This is for all of us here. Anyone want to take that one? What's the graduation pitch about?
I think I'll answer that a little bit. I think a lot of people were pretty scared about the graduation pitch. So a graduation pitch is basically, if you do remember what the first panel mentioned, it's all about practicality. It's not about theory. So all the board members and instructors are in the fintech field. So it's about applying what you learn throughout that 1 month. You pick a team to work with. So you're not doing it alone. You can pick your own team members. Number 2, you pick a problem statement that your team is very passionate about. And number 3, you pick a possible solution that you learn along the way. And you sum up the problem statement, target market, and the solution within 5 minutes. And that's your graduation pitch. So you are in a way up against each other. It is quite competitive, but a very fun one. And it's really to put you in a real world life situation. So even though it's deemed as a school, but it's really to launch you into the real world of fintech. So graduation pitch is mandatory at the end of 1 month. And it's really up to you how you maximize it. If you ask like Danny, Charmayne, even Robin, actually all of them mentored some of these teams. So you actually have a lot of opportunity, number 1, to hunt for your mentors, whether it's personal or throughout E-Fintech School. Number 2 is to ask guidance, how to pitch. What do you think my pitch deck is? Is this problem statement very real? So all that is within the graduation pitch.
Thank you.
Can I just add on to that? Yeah, so I think the graduation pitch is something that was actually really exciting that we did as well. And I think as Jenna rightfully mentioned, I actually mentored a few teams doing it. And I think the level of commitment that we see from the participants was really, really great. They actually reached out to me and asked if I'm actually going to be able to mentor them. So I did my best to basically look into what they were pitching about, and also sort of help them to and guide them to actually move towards a direction in terms of, you know, how people would actually sell an actual pitch in today's world, for example. Yeah.
Thank you, Charmaine. Okay, I've got another one here. I'm aware that we need at least 80% attendance in this course. How many sessions maximum can we be absent in that sense? Thank you. Some people just don't want to show up. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe that's why they've labeled themselves anonymous attendee here. But go on. Anyone want to take that?
I think
cut corners. Sorry, no, go ahead.
so I think to give a bit of perspective, it's there are always 3 sessions per week. Saturdays are optional and last minute. And every session is 2 hours long. And the sessions are only going to run Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday during weekdays after working hours, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong time. So those are the generic one, and they're in the Q&A beneath the application form. You can read all of that. So 80% of attendance, if you look at it, technically, you can kind of also, so we're not entirely very strict. We do understand that sometimes you get sick. Sometimes there is work commitment, family commitment. So we actually give you brownie points during the cohort. And I think Jasmine can add on to what those brownie points are.
Yes, like extra assignments and handing them up within a certain time frame and doing really well. I mean, it's awesome and amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think 80% it's the idea is to get you guys encouraged to actually attend and appreciate the instructor's time that they put in to actually do this live with you. Most of the courses online are not live because it takes a lot of time and commitment. So the idea is to formulate that mindset. I think we are in a way strict for the 80%, but there are brownie points that you can collect. So for example, if we know that you are asked a lot of questions during the session, we recognize you as a participant. Those are things that we actually take pride in actually understanding each of the participants during the E-Fintech School. So over to you, Robin.
Thanks, Jenna. Another anonymous attendee. I have signed up via PTIX and I have received a reply from PTIX. Am I already signed up? When is the deposit paid? Or will there be another reply from E-Fintech School? Are we at the stage now where we are responding to applicants?
We will be responding next week actually, because we've actually received applications that we're actually able to admit some participants already. So just a reminder to everyone, 1st November is the deadline for applications. PTIX is the way that it does is it acknowledges that we receive your application. So if you think that you're not sure, just drop us an email or through PTIX, then we will reply, hey, we got your application. So what it means that so we're actually going to start emailing participants and admitting them in. So first thing is you will receive an email confirmation if you got in. That's number 1. Number 2, in the email, you have more details, things like the terms and conditions, the steps, and we even have a participant toolkit. So all that will be coming via email or even PTIX as well. So right now, because the application is still open, we are receiving applications during even this session. I just checked. So I hope that answers everyone's queries and questions. Back to you, Robin.
Thanks, Jenna. So anonymous attendee, hang on in there. If you don't hear anything within the next couple of weeks, then just shoot us an email and we'll get back to you. But just hang on for those 2 weeks. Thank you, anonymous attendee. Okay, we got another anonymous attendee here. Has any graduate managed successfully either got a job in fintech or improved their career via a new job from this course? I can quasi answer that, anonymous attendee. The graduates only graduated 2 months ago. So I'm not sure whether we have any success stories yet. But stay tuned for another, I mean, maybe after the next cohort or beginning of next year, and we'll probably have more data for you then. Thank you.
Sorry, Robin, I'll add on to that.
Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Some of the participants are actually real startups. So we actually interviewed most of the participants that graduated with us. And some of these participants actually got into, they actually moved country to a startup accelerator program, things like that. So maybe they moved like from the country that they're living to actually Korea. So this is real life data. And a lot of these startups actually value the network. So I think especially for Robin's side, I think I remember your name came up that you actually recommended some direct experts or people that can help them. So those are the success that we got. Other successes is they actually gain certain knowledge and they actually want to encourage their companies to hit into innovation. Those are the immediate successes that we actually got. So they're actually updating either their bosses or their teammates about this, or even reaching out to be partners with us. So yeah, those are the successes. Back to you, Robin.
Thank you, Jenna. Okay, we got a bit of a funny last question here, unless any more pop up in the interim. Who's the best pitcher? Oh, we have another one. Okay, let's do the funny one first. Who's the best pitcher on the board? Maybe what I'll do is I'll ask each board member, and they can name someone. So let's kick it off with you, Paul. Who's the best pitcher on the board?
Well, since I don't know anyone else's pitching skills on the board, I'm just going to go with me because I know what my skills are like.
Okay, thank you. Carol?
I will go with
The boss, Jenna.
Okay.
She's the one who managed to convince every one of us to spend all this time and be on this webinar for all of you. Love, but Jenna.
Right. Charmayne?
Me? No, I don't know really. I think my answer is pretty much the same as well. I've not seen everyone here pitch. So yeah, I would say Jenna or probably Jasmine has got like really good pitch.
Okay. So Jenna's up there right now. Jasmine?
Yeah, we all love Jenna, and of course she can sell. But then look, to all the participants out there, you have no idea what all the board of advisors are up to behind the scene. We are chatting on Zoom and going crazy about, okay, who's got the best speech? Who's got the best speech? And okay, Paul's got more votes, slightly more votes. Okay. And one of the reasons why Paul has got a little bit more votes is because Paul showed up during one of our sessions with makeup.
Oh, wow. Okay. Right. Danny?
I will go with Paul, as I said.
Okay. Paul's back up there. Kelvin?
Wait, the question was who's prettiest? Then I go with Paul.
All right, we could base pitching and pitching and prettiness in the same bucket. Yeah, and then last but not least, Jenna.
I'm gonna go with Paul then. All right. I think there'll be a certain expectation during the cohort that Paul will come up with something.
So Don, if you sign up for the class, then make sure that you make sure you attend Paul's class and hold him to that. Okay, another question here. Okay, let's say I get an idea during the training, and will I prohibited from the building a solution on my own? Will I be restricted to any IP? Okay.
I think I understand that question. It's a bit like the startup pitch, right? So if I can, just jump in. I think you are trying to associate that this is like an educational institution. So no, we're not. Please go ahead and build on your own. We have nothing to do with that IP. The only thing that we're concerned is if you touch on the modules of the instructors. So that's very clear because the modules of instructors belong to the instructor. But other than that, if you want to go and build your own, that's entirely up to you. So yeah, back to you, Robin.
Thank you, Jenna. And actually, that's about it for the Q&A. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my original panel, my three musketeers here, and would ask you guys to just give some final closing words for existing and prospective students, the existing and prospective students out there. So yeah, let's start with you, Carol.
All I could think of was join lah. No, honestly, like I know that this is a new group, right? But hopefully you can feel the energy. You can spend a lot of time researching the backgrounds of these very qualified instructors and people. But if you feel that, you know, if you got that gut instinct, I would say now's the time. There's no need to wait. It's only a month in your life in the grand spectrum of things. And as a crazy working mom who has zero time, like what you make time for will make a difference. And so 100% you can do it. If you feel like you're doing it, you're going to make the time, you're going to love it. Just take the plunge, and looking forward to connect with you.
Thank you, Carol. That's great. Charmayne?
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, just come and join us, right? And I think most of us will be actually working from home, so you don't really have an excuse of like, oh, I don't have the time, I have to be in the office, I'm traveling or whatever, you know, you're going to be stuck at home anyway. So you might as well make use of your time. And enjoying us. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. And last but by no means least, Mr. Kelvin.
I would say check out all the information that's available on the instructors. Very exciting lineup. So do come. I think you'll learn a lot, and you know, also make a lot of connections, and hopefully that will spur some interest and move your career in this direction. Otherwise, I'm good.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, and that's it from me. If I could just ask everyone to come off mute and give a round of applause for my fantastic panel here.
It's webinar, so they can't switch on.
All right. Oh,
Win.
okay. Thank you to the three people that did that. Okay, and then back to you, Jenna.
So thank you, the board and instructors. So just for everyone's information, so the board is everyone here, as you can see, and we are also either past instructors or present instructors. So if you have any requests on specific instructor from the board, let us know, and then we will see what we can do. The link is already in the chat, and looking forward to everyone's application by 1st November. If you want your friends to come in, if you have any ideas, just drop us an email or you know, like messages on PTIX. We're happy to answer any questions. We're very excited to looking forward to your application and having you at our cohort. So may I ask on the board that we can snap a group picture, because that's mandatory every session for instructors as well. Kelvin, are you there? Kelvin's not there. Okay, I'm gonna just snap. Everyone say cheese. Okay, awesome. So thank you, everyone. We will definitely stay in touch, and that's all. Thank you. Have a good weekend, guys. Bye.
Everyone, have a good evening.
Yeah.
Oh.